4 years ago, when I launched the aquarium gallery, the entire purpose of this facility was to simply educate and inspire my fellow hobbyists, and I did so by setting up new aquariums, new fish, and cycling through them, setting it all up, then starting over, exposing you to more and more different methods and ways, switching out the filters, lights, everything, just continuously doing it for 4 years. And I gotta say, I'm not complaining. It was so much fun. It was an incredible experience, but I never thought that I was going to learn anything. I was just teaching you guys what I already knew. I was giving you my, 18, 19 years of experience and dumping it into video in my aquariums, and I hope that helped many of you. But what if I told you that over the last little while, I've personally experienced the largest shift in my hobby of all time? Man, it's changed the way I look at aquariums, and I think it's changed the way I look at them forever. Let me explain. I thought about this for a while now. I taught you guys everything based off of my level of experience and my knowledge and my method of fish keeping. I'm sitting in front of this aquarium because this is a bare bottom aquarium housing freshwater stingray, Asian arowana, and there's a bichir in there as well that nobody wants to talk about because he rarely comes out on camera. I built everything from aquariums, the stands, the filtration, the lights, every method and type of equipment I could possibly imagine. My background as a fish keeper is a do-it-yourself fish keeper, but I built everything and designed everything around the idea that this will be on one of my bare bottom aquariums. I never built it based around an aquascaped aquarium, community style, substrate. Perhaps there will be plants and algae and, a complete ecosystem, so to speak. But of course, I knew if I was going to have an aquarium gallery, these aquariums better darn well look like one of your aquariums or something that you might want to set up, because I know you don't want to set this up. You might want to have it, but if you could only have like a small tank or one aquarium type of deal, maybe you would want a planted tank or an aquascaped aquarium in some method or form, but you probably don't want this. And if you do, me too, bro. The bottom line is this. When I'm designing an aquarium or building a filtration system or whatever I'm doing, and I know it's going to be a bare bottom aquarium, my lord, you guys are gorgeous, stop distracting me. I need to know that the filtration system that I'm going to design and build or purchase or whatever we're going to do has got to be the sole method of biological filtration that's going to house and facilitate the nitrogen cycle. In some of my older bare bottom aquariums, you wouldn't even find a speck of algae. I would consider absolutely everything. There's only one downside to that method of fish keeping. If your filter crashes, everything dies. There's nothing that's going to save them. And I'll tell you why. A bacteria that is within the nitrogen cycle, like Nitrosomonas and Nitrobacter, they are not a free-floating organism. They are a bacteria that lives on a surface. And what do? I remove absolutely every possibility from the aquarium and every surface that it might be able to live on besides the glass and whatever that I actually clean, and focus it and make sure it all lives within the filtration system, which isn't a bad thing. There are pros and cons to a bare bottom aquarium, and I'll probably always have a couple of them. But let me show you this aquarium. What's going to happen to this fish tank if the filtration systems all of a sudden quit on me? They just stop working, or I gotta replace it, or there's a power outage. What do we truly think is going to happen? Honestly, probably nothing. Well, this is not the best looking aquarium. It certainly started to inspire a project that I started working on that we're gonna take a look at soon, and is the whole purpose of this video. If the filtration stops working on this, there's so much bacteria within the substrate. The substrate can house so much more bacteria than the filtration system, but there's no direct flow through it, so we can't really depend on it. Then, of course, we have all kinds of algae in here, and that's going to help extract phosphates and nitrates, and then, of course, the plants. These are the same plants that I added in like a year or two ago, whenever this tank was set up. Everything's still doing fine. Everything is still healthy. The fish are breeding. They're growing. Everybody in here is doing, well, you know what I'm going to say, absolutely phenomenal. But that's not what I'm trying to get at. Even my water change regimen prior to the aquarium gallery was to do like massive water changes on a consistent basis. And then I started to apply that out here. Does this aquarium require as many water changes as the one that we just looked at? And the simple answer is it does. This tank needs far more water changes than that one because this has no nutrient export. There's nothing. If we look at the Oscar Aquarium, this is a temporary situation. These guys were only supposed to be in here for a very short while, and I just think it's hilarious. I mean, come on, Tyrese, just sitting there perked up. He literally looks like he's smiling with his buddies. But the Oscars, we've got 6 Oscars, and Tyrese the Fahaka Puffer in a 120-gallon aquarium, and we're only using your common, basic, run-of-the-mill, hang-on-the-back filters, but this aquarium is doing perfectly fine. Why? Well, I've created a basic ecosystem where we do have lots of substrate. It's not too packed, it's not too compact where it's going to cause water quality issues, but a tremendous amount of bacteria will live in there, and same with on the rocks and the wood. But we also, of course, have nutrient export. That is a lot of pothos. You just put the roots in here and let the lights grow it. Pretty simple. Casts a cool shadow on the tank. The camera's making it look much darker than it is. Let me see if I can adjust that so you can see what it looks like more so. More like that in person, I guess. But it's super, super cool. Now, these guys will be all getting their own tanks here shortly. They're going to go in a 180-gallon tank, and we're going to do something very similar. But it just goes to show, if this filter shuts off, these guys will probably be good for a couple of days. No problem. As long as I provide water movement and oxygen exchange at the surface, I got nothing to worry about. You know, that's the thing that I like about the aquarium hobby so much. The thing that excites me the most and why I know I'll probably always have an aquarium is because you simply will never know everything. There's literally no such thing as an aquarium expert. It's impossible to have kept every aquarium and every type of fish and in every type of scenario using every method of fish keeping. You have to continuously expose yourself. And like I said, that was the whole purpose of the aquarium gallery, is to kind of like fast track you guys into and exposing you to so many things in such a short period of time that you can kind of select what you like and what you don't like because you've seen so much. These are my 2 quarantine systems. In this aquarium, we have a bunch of Apistos, and in this aquarium, we have a bunch of Tetras and Corydora, and there's still some Festivums as well. We're going to take a look at that in a while. Don't let this fool you, though. I do have a couple of very large hang-on-the-back filters that were not there yesterday. Once I shut down the tank that they were on, I wanted to keep all the media cycled, and I decided I'll toss them on here, but it kind of ruined this video because it's kind of fixing these tanks. But what do you see when you look at these aquariums? Filthy, disgusting, gross. Insane amounts of algae and detritus. And it simply just looks gross. It doesn't look healthy at all. These are by far the worst looking and worst set up aquariums that I've ever had, by far. But I've been busy for the past couple of months and kind of neglected these aquariums in terms of general maintenance. I just allowed them to do their thing. I never did water changes, I did a little bit of water changes here and there, but as soon as they started growing algae, it started kind of feeling like it's getting out of control. I just left it alone, and I thought, you know what? The algae is going to help prolong water changes, and boy, did they. For the past couple of months, I haven't done a single water change. I did find a balance of how many fish I can have in here, running only a medium-sized sponge filter, some moss and some floating plants and whatnot, and that was it. And it's about 100 fish. We've got about, 30, 40 of the Bleeding Heart Tetras, and then a handful of Corydora, and, there's some other tiny little Tetras and other little fish in here. All of these are going into the 2000 here shortly, but this one's really cool. This is the Apisto aquarium. Look what I gotta do for you guys. I gotta come over here. I got you guys stuffed in here. Look at the Apisto tank. The water's crystal clear. The fish, I can't measure nitrates in these tanks, so I stopped doing water changes. And the tanks and the fish just flourished. The Apistos, while this is a disgusting aquarium, I just got a few flower pots, a sponge filter, some moss in there that's covered in detritus, but the Apistos are literally flourishing, doing absolutely amazing. Some of which are incredibly rare and very rarely seen in the hobby, but I got a tank for them here shortly. So while these two tanks are literally the most disgusting aquariums that I've seen on YouTube, or even in person, look at them all thinking I'm about to feed them. I only feed them about once a day too. They're all absolutely enormous, and those Apistos, wait till you see them. Maybe I should do some GoPro footage here shortly, but I got a super cool video that'll come out for them, and a really cool tank. So the experiment that I've been running was quite simple. How many fish can I keep in this situation without kind of doing water changes, very little maintenance, and over time, you know, remove a few tetras and remove a few Corydoras. And it got to the point where there's about 100 tetras and Corydora in here, and that was the perfect balance. I haven't done a water change literally in 2 months. But of course, all this time, I didn't want anybody to know, and you've probably seen a few videos, don't show this, don't show this. I didn't want anybody to see how bad these were, and I kept having to remember how many fish I originally said were in this one and that one, and because I didn't want nobody to catch on to what I was doing, because sometimes you guys know that sometimes I have to order 100 of one type of fish just to get 20 type of deal, and then kind of send the rest back to the fish store or to a friend or something like that. But anyways, well, these are really gross tanks. They're no less healthy than this aquarium, or that aquarium, or that aquarium, and the only thing that's separating my prized fish, my favorite fish of all time, and all of these aquariums is simply the basics. Substrate and plants and a filtration system, and you know, there's things in the tank for the bacteria to grow on and whatnot. Anyways, what I'm trying to get at is this. Coming from a guy that came from bare bottom tanks and, you know, designed everything, we already went over that, to going to this, I've realized a couple of things. It doesn't matter what your tank looks like in terms of having some algae or being pristine or anything like that. I'm finding that your fish are going to be equally as happy in a well-established tank that has detritus and algae, and if the water parameters check out, don't worry about it too much. The more you mess with things, the worse it's just gonna get. And that certainly applies to new aquariums and setting them up. Let the damn thing cycle. Anyways, I think that's it for me today. I think the purpose of this video is just kind of let you guys know that even myself, we stress a little bit too much about our aquariums, don't we? We probably do way too many water changes and maintain it and clean it and polish it way too much, don't we? I'm guilty of that. I do it all the time. But I gotta say, there's something incredibly satisfying looking in an aquarium that isn't perfect, but the fish are. And I guess what I'm really trying to say is that if my tanks look horrible moving forward, now you know why. You know, but that's... Ow, it's pinching my ass. Oh, you bastard. Whew. Oh, I was lucky it was not my nuts. When I sit down, this moves a little bit, and I sat down and it clipped me. It's like my tank bit my butt. I stand on it so much and it's so wobbly. Anyways. But product placement. This is from the last video, sorry. Well, now I don't know what I was gonna say.